Well, g'day, Dale. Welcome to the show, mate. It's absolute pleasure to have you on here.
Thanks, Peter.
We'll just dig straight into this, man. Could you talk about what it is you do, and specifically, we'll talk about maybe your latest project, the thing that's getting you excited at the moment.
Okay, well, I might just give you a quick sort of snapshot so people sort of know the sort of three sort of main phases to the last sort of 11 years of my life.
Yeah.
First phase was in running personal development seminars for teenagers, and so that was kind of my first love and passion. And we ran programs for about a decade, and we helped about 27,000 teenagers in 6 different countries to learn about things like goal setting and leadership and communication skills and money management, etc. So we've done that for about 10 years. About 5 years into that journey, though, I started to look at other projects that I was going to do simultaneously, and I started putting some of my time into a series of books which became known as the Secrets Exposed series, where I interviewed a whole lot of highly successful people in a range of topic areas, and through that process produced 15 books and sold about 250,000 copies. So that was my sort of second major project. There was a few little projects in between, but then the third kind of evolution, and the thing that I'm now my core focus is a business education program which is called Business Blueprint. And I have now about 270 members that I work with that are entrepreneurs and business owners, and we work together over a period of 12 months to help them transform the way that they run their business, and so they can ultimately build a more lifestyle driven business and still make large amounts of money, but also have the time to be able to enjoy it by using smart tools and technology and new ways of marketing in order to achieve a much bigger result with much less effort. So that's my core focus and passion. Love what we do and the impact that has on clients, and that's a bit of snapshot of me.
Okay, yeah, because I really want to dig into some of the stuff you said there, like into some detail, because I actually come along to the new business seminar that you ran, and which is kind of where we met, and I was very impressed with a lot of the stuff you talked about, particularly the internet stuff. But one thing that really got me excited about what you do is the whole systems thing. Now, I'm a fan of this book. The Michael Gerber book, and you kind of displayed that at the front there as well. I'm going to link this up too, guys. So if you haven't seen this, hard to imagine, but if you haven't seen this, there'll be a link there below to go and get it. But you're kind of like probably the first person that I've seen that has really implemented a lot of these lessons, like really integrated these systems, and that's kind of what your business blueprint is about, isn't it? Like the systems you've created over a period of time. From what you've learned that works, and actually sort of handing that over rather than people scraping their knees for years on end trying to figure it all out. Can you talk a bit about your systems? And I wanted to know, do you have a system for creating systems?
Yeah, we do. So basically, in the big picture sense, what I worked out early on is 2 ways to do anything. One is through trial and error, and the other is through following a proven recipe and formula. And so that's what led me to sort of start writing and producing books, because I figured that if I could go out and interview a lot of successful people, find out what made them successful, then that would make a really valuable product. And that's what happened there. And so I've been applying that same philosophy to my business in the fact of every time I do something, I spend extra time to make sure that I've got the one best way, the best method, the best process for doing something, whatever that might be, and then we document that into a best practice, or as we know, what we call a system for how that needs to be done. And because the secret to business success is being very selective about the tasks that you do, and only do the tasks that are going to generate you the best return on your time, but being able to delegate all of the other tasks to other people. And so when you're passing those tasks over, you've got to make sure that they're actually following a formula, following a recipe, following something that's proven to work. Otherwise, if you just hand that over and say, figure this out, they might do something that's completely not what you are, how you want to be represented, or, the formula that you want them to be following, and they can be doing something that's completely ineffective and not achieving the outcome. So I kind of am very hands-on in my business. I get my hands dirty. I do it, I figure it out, but then I want to systemize it and put it into a formula and then pass it on to somebody else. And so, if there's a task that I do sort of every week, and it takes me about an hour, then if I just do that every week, it's going to be 52 hours of my time. So what I do is I go ask myself, am I ever going to have to do this task again? And if the answer is yes, then I'll take an extra 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, however long it takes, and I'll, at the same time of doing it, I'll document exactly how I'm doing that system. And then the next week, I might actually sit down with one of my staff and say, okay, you're now responsible for this activity that needs to be done every week, and this is when I want it done, and then this is how I want it done. I'll take some time to explain that system, and so they understand it and why we do what we do. And then that's it. Then from there, I might check in every now and again, make sure that they're still following that that path that I laid out. But then it means instead of now spending 52 hours of my time over this next year, I've spent maybe 2 or 3. I've now passed it on to someone else, and now that is just going to be done from this point on by somebody else. So then I can spend my time focusing on the things that are going to actually grow my business and generate revenue, as opposed to just stuff that is kind of important but not actually moving your business forward. So a lot of people are very busy in their business, but all they're doing is spinning their wheels. They just in reaction mode, putting out fires, just solving kind of the day-to-day problems, but they're never actually taking their business forward. So you need to get out of the detail, get out of the day-to-day, which is what the book by Michael Gerber is all about, and start working on your business and not in your business. And there's a very distinct difference. And so I'm a big believer in systems, and that's what I now do, is help other entrepreneurs to build their own systems, but also because I've been doing this now for the last 5 years in my business, creating systems as part of my program. I give people all the systems that I've created to make their life easier, so they don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Okay, now, and as far as your systems go, so there's two kind of philosophies, which, as this book came out, it was about finding the lowest level of skill set possible that someone needs to have to be able to perform those particular tasks. Now Seth Godin talks about hiring linchpins. I don't know if you're familiar with Seth Godin's work, about hiring, unique people that are hard to find, and having extraordinary people in your business. What sort of a balance is there? So, like, if you find someone like what say Seth Godin talks about, put them into this role, they'll either get really bored, or they might go, wow, you know what, we could actually innovate this even more. Yeah, what's the balance there for you?
Yeah, in any business, there's a combination of both, and there's two distinct kind of things you do in a business. You've got the thinking side of things, and then you've got the doing side of things. And the doing side of things is where you're going to actually hire people, at a low sort of skill level, and basically just say, look, it's not rocket science, but this has to be done. We need to, every Friday, we send out confirmation letters to anyone that's registered for one of our events, and this is how it's done, and this is how you put the envelopes together, and this is how you put on the stamp, and this is how you take it to the post. If you're hiring a linchpin to do those things, you'll find that you'll be broke pretty fast, because you're right, they're hard to find, they're going to be expensive to hire, and they're not going to stay for very long. So there's the doing part of the business, but then there's the thinking part. And with the thinking part, then he's right, you need to hire the best people you possibly can, because if you've got someone in the role that is not actually a self-starter, that's not actually creative, that hasn't actually isn't coming up with those ideas and solutions and creating new ways and better ways of doing things, then you're never going to be moving forward. You're just going to be stuck in the now. So you need a combination of both. But what I find is that many people haven't got the time to be able to focus on the growth of their business because they're too busy doing the doing. So that's the first thing that you got to get rid of, is all of the low-level tasks, and then you got your time back to then focus on growing your business, and then hiring really great staff for the various kind of key roles within your business.
Okay, interesting, man. Thanks for sharing that, because that was something that is, as I've discovered Michael Gerber, and as you go, you discover one thing, it leads to the next thing, leads to the next thing, you get very confused, and then you kind of start refining what's what. Well, that's important, that works, that's just saying the same garbage that thing said, that one's good. You find your systems, and you find the things that kind of resonate.
Absolutely.
So can we dig back now and talk about how you first got started? I mean, you weren't always at this point. When did you first kind of realize you're entrepreneurial? Because I find a lot of people that I do get on the show, the guests that I have, they've kind of started early in one form or another. What was the kind of the first inkling you had, and how did that lead up to where you are now?
Well, it wasn't like I've interviewed a lot of very successful people, and it's funny, they started their first business when they were 7, or they were 12, or they were 14, and they're entrepreneurs right from the start. And so it wasn't that case for me because I was very much involved in competitive sport. I was a national gymnast and I was training about 36 hours a week in the gym. And on top of that, going to school. So my life was just the gym, school, home, gym, school, home. And that was pretty much it. I had no time for any other entrepreneurial ventures. So it was really when I left school at the age of 19, that's when I sort of started to go out there and was attended a lot of different courses, a lot of different seminars, and I was basically had a lot of people come up to me saying, why wasn't I taught this stuff at school? And it's great that you're so young and having all this great information. I wish I would have had it at your age. And so I started to think, well, why wasn't I taught this stuff in school? And wouldn't it be great if we're educating our young people on all these life skills, things that are actually going to apply in the real world, not, look at how much time I spent on maths and algebra and, and other sort of subjects and what percentage do you actually use in the real world? Probably, maybe less than 5%, and it gets forgotten in 12 months. And so I then, I was looking for, is there anyone else out there doing this? Because if I was, maybe I would have joined them, but there wasn't. And so I thought, well, the only way to actually have it exist is if I create it. And so I partnered with a friend that I went to school with, and we created this program called Empower You, and the company was called Tomorrow's Youth International. And it was just born out of our passion to want to be able to make a difference and to reach a lot of young people. So it wasn't like this, but since then I've just fallen in love with what it means to run your own business, that you can work your own hours, that you're in control of your own destiny, that you're what you get out of business is in direct proportion to what you put in, and it's a constant source of challenge and growth, and it really forces you to become a better person. So I am very passionate about business, and have since built 4 or 5 different businesses over the last 11 years, and love it very much, and I can't see myself doing anything else.
Yeah, excellent. So can we talk a bit now about the process that you took? So how did you actually come up with the idea to interview people? Had you seen someone else doing it, or what gave you the idea that, hey, look, if I go and interview them, this is going to work, I'm going to get great information? Because it sounds like you didn't go and do it just to create books. Hey, I'm going to become a best-selling author and interview a gazillion people. It sounds like you just went there to discover information for yourself. Is that true? Would that be?
Yeah. Well, how it sort of came about was when I started running these youth seminars at 19, one of the pieces of advice we'd always give the young people that we work with was, look, there's 2 ways to do anything in life: trial and error, or following a recipe from someone else that has succeeded. So it's like, if you want to be an architect, go out there and find 5 architects and go interview them and talk to them about it and say, what's it, why did you become an architect, and what do you like about it, and what do you hate about it, and what income can I actually earn, and how much study do I need to do, and what does it take to actually be an award-winning architect or whatever. And we just tell them, go out and find people, think about what you want and where you want to be, and then find people that already have those results, and go interview them. So whether that be you want to become a millionaire, or you want to buy a property, or you want to start your own business, or you want to become an architect or a nurse or anything. And so I constantly tell this. And I said this for like 5 years at every single one of my seminars. But naturally, some people would go out there and do it, but other people go, oh, it's too hard. And I'd say, why is it too hard? And they go, well, how do I find the people? And then what questions do I ask? And then, it's all too difficult. And I thought, well, what about if I just go out there and I find the people and I do the interviews, and then I collect it all, I edit it all, and I just put it together in a book? That'd be really, it'd make people's lives so much easier, instead of having to spend 50 hours going out there and doing all this research. I could do it once, and then everybody could benefit from it. And so originally it was just going to be one book for teenagers. And I was speaking to, other people about it, and they said, wow, I'd love a book about starting business. I'd love a book about property. I'd love a book about, how to become a better public speaker. So what started off as just one book ended up becoming 15 books, and not just for teenagers, but for, people young and old, to learn about how to succeed in different areas of life. So, and again, that was about building great systems, because I realized if I was going to do this, I needed to be very efficient with my time, and I need to not be repeating, recreating things. So I came up with a formula, I came up with a model, came up with a proposal, and a template for every aspect of putting the book together from start to finish. And then I just basically followed that that formula repeatedly, and a lot of hard work, a lot of effort to get it off the ground.
Yeah.
But like anything, if you stick at it and you're committed and you just have that never say die attitude, then you'll get there. And we did, and it was a big success.
Now, yeah, that's because you became known as like the prolific writer or some sort of title like that, because you actually wrote at one point 11 books in 1 year.
Yeah, exactly. So the first year when I was doing this, we did 0 books in the first year. So that just gives everybody hope, because sometimes people will do something, they want instant gratification.
Yep.
Well, in the first year of any entrepreneurial venture, it's about planting seeds and putting them in the ground, and you're not expecting instant success. A lot of people think, I'm going to go into business, I want to be making thousands of dollars by next Tuesday, and it doesn't always happen like that. So first year 0, second year we did 2 books, the third year we did another 2 books, and then the year after that we did 11 books all in 1 year. So it was a massive kind of growth that we had, and that all comes down to having great systems and also having a great team around you as well. And that's another little piece of advice, that nothing truly significant in life is ever accomplished by one individual. It's always through a team of other people that work together to make it happen. You look at someone like maybe, in Australia we'd know Jessica Watson, who, achieved this amazing feat of being able to sail around the world. But she wasn't just even though she was alone on the boat, she had a team of 12 people that were back on shore helping her and sending her messages and making sure she had supplies and giving her direction and looking at storm patterns and all those type of things. And anyone who climbs Mount Everest, anyone that builds a successful business, it's never one person alone, it's always a team. And so you need great systems, but you've got to surround yourself with great people as well, and make sure that you you do the work. There's a lot of you've been to a lot of personal development seminars as I have as well, and there's a bit of a myth out there. I think it was populated by The Secret that all you have to do is sit there and think about what you want, and it'll just magically transform and be attracted into your life. I'm all into the power of you become what you think about, and the law of attraction, but then there's the law of massive action, and you actually got to do the work in order to get the results. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that want to have the great car and the nice house, and they want to be rich and famous and all those other things, but they're just not prepared to do what it takes. They're not prepared to invest as Malcolm Gladwell said in one of his books, the 10,000 hours that it takes in order to actually master something and to become well known and to become successful. A lot of people want the instant gratification and the magic pill, and unfortunately it's not the case. Yeah,
so like for you it took 4 years from that first book, from writing 0 books to actually having that 11 book year. Now how important was that process? Like, was that what got you kind of on the map? Hey, this dude's just done this whole thing, and then all of a sudden everyone wanted to kind of interview you. You're on Sunrise and all these kinds of shows. Is that the moment, the kind of the tipping point, maybe you could call it, that things started to really turn around for you?
Yeah, we had a mini tipping point. We actually wrote our first book when we started out at the age of 19, because we realized, being so young and working with teenagers, we didn't have a lot of credibility. So we actually wrote a small book back then called The World at Your Feet, which is a personal development book for teenagers. And that was a bit of a breakthrough, our first breakthrough, which got us onto onto Sunrise, then the Today Show, and then we're on Mornings with Kerry Ann, and then we're interviewed in about 40 or 50 different newspapers and magazines. So that was kind of our first, breakthrough, and we became known as experts in helping young people to transform their lives. But then, when I did the Secrets Exposed series, that kind of then launched me into a different, in a different way. And that was not just as a guy that's helping teenagers, but as a guy who's written these books to help people of all ages, and that has something to offer, everybody. And so that kind of took me into another level, and I got to again Weekend Sunrise and more TV shows, and then more radio, and kind of got to another level. And then more recently, with what I've done with Business Blueprint, is touring the country and speaking to about 5,000 or 6,000 entrepreneurs every year, and that's also helped to now position me as an expert in business, and someone that can really help entrepreneurs to be able to use technology and new forms of marketing in order to get a much better result from their business. And so it's been a constant sort of evolution. It wasn't just kind of one thing. It's been a compounding effect of the different things that I've done, and every time just taking my profile and and my results to another level.
Okay, yeah. Now, naturally, I'm drawn to what you talk about doing the interview process, because as a way to kind of position yourself. That's a term you used a lot there. Is like positioning yourself in your field, in your market. How do you see the interview? Why is the interview process so magic for doing that? Because I could talk to 1,000 people, know nothing about a particular subject. All of a sudden, I've interviewed a bunch of people, and then everyone's coming to me to talk to me about that subject. Yeah, naturally, you learn a lot of things along the way through doing the interviews. Like I learned so much from having guests on, and I ask them questions that I want to learn stuff about. So, yeah, what's the magic of the interview to be able to position someone? Say if someone out there listening now wants to decide, hey, I want to go interview people, maybe write a book, maybe whatever, or just to learn stuff. What's the magic of that situation?
Yeah, someone once said, I think Sir Isaac Newton, if I've seen further, it's because I've been standing on the shoulders of giants. And so what it really does, the interview process really helps to discover and distill someone's, genius, someone's success formula, what has actually helped them to achieve their desired outcome. And so it's really, it's capturing in a bottle the key decisions that they've made along the way, the key mindset that they've had, the key kind of turning points. And, you talk about the highs and also the lows in someone's journey. And what it does, it basically, creates a picture about what it takes to become successful and to succeed. And what it does is it compresses, like what would take people 20 or 30 years to learn, into maybe half an hour. Because I say there's not enough, years in someone's life to be able to learn, everything there is to know to be successful in business. You need 5 lifetimes if you want to figure it out through trial and error. Yeah. And so the only way to get a result in a shorter space of time is to now leverage off the experiences of, 10 other people, let's just say. If these 10 people have invested each 10 hours worth of time, then that's 100,000 hours worth of time, of knowledge and experience and, decision-making ability that's now, a part of you. Now, it doesn't mean that you're still not going to make any mistakes. You'll still make some mistakes along the way as well, but it means you're not making completely obvious and ignorant and just blind mistakes that were just so obvious. You still make a few mistakes, but what it does is prevents you from making just unnecessary mistakes. And it means your road journey is going to be so much smoother and faster.
Okay, yeah, and also just sort of want to touch on the perception of someone outside of, because it's interesting. Like when I talk to people, naturally, after the interviews that I do, I just naturally ask a few questions of the person, just personal, to say get a bit of feedback for what I'm doing out there, and how that's perceived. And it's interesting to get other people's feedback of how they view what I'm doing. So, did you get a lot of feedback of what you were doing at the time that made you go, I'm on the right track, and sort of helped you to make those next decisions?
Yeah, I got a lot of feedback, and I just asked people, like, what did you really honestly think? What did you like about it? And then people would tell you, I like this and like that. I said, well, what didn't you like about it? Or what could I improve? How could I do things better? And people were, very open to giving feedback and saying, look, I like this. This work really worked for me. This kind of didn't really work. And so I just kind of kept doing more of what people like and less of what they don't like. And that made a big difference. And so, always ask for feedback wherever you can, and incorporate that. And sometimes it's going to be helpful, sometimes maybe not so helpful, and then that's fine. You don't have to act on everything that somebody says, because there's a saying, and that is I can't give you a formula for success, but I can give you a formula for failure, and that is try to please everybody. Yeah. Because no matter what you do, you're not going to make everybody happy, and there'll be some people that that won't like what you're doing, and that's completely okay, because they're them and you're you, and so the world would be a pretty boring place if everybody thought and acted in the same way. But if you're doing something that is that is actually hurting people or is damaging your credibility or their credibility, or something that's just rude or impolite, then that's got to be changed. Because you don't want to be creating a trail of destruction on your path to success. At the end of the day, you want to make sure that you succeed, but also that you don't burn those bridges and hurt people along the way. So that needs to always be in check. But as long as that is in place and you are doing things in the right way, and you're not hurting and abusing and people, and you're respecting people's individuality and what makes them unique, then that's okay. It's okay if people are going to disagree. It's okay if people suggest that you do it some other way. If it's not right for you, just thank them for their feedback, but just follow your own intuition.
Thanks for that. Now I want to shift gears a little bit and talk a bit about some of the internet stuff that you were teaching at New Business Rules. Now the internet, I started in my journey on internet stuff and learning how it all works sort of 3 years ago. And in that 3-year period, things have changed. And even in the last month, Google's introduced another change that kind of changes the way everyone does things. Now I want to talk about some of the stuff that you talked about, or just get you to basically talk about as if you're at the seminar now. Can you talk about some of that internet stuff? Because some of that was just awesome, and totally right on the money. Because having looked at it, I had the eyes to pull it apart and pick it to pieces if I wanted to, and it was all good stuff, man. So share a bit about the internet.
There's so many things I'd love to talk about. Yeah, because I could, it's a whole 2 hours,
and it constantly changes.
Yeah, it's constantly changing. But, I think the first thing is to take the internet seriously. It's here to stay, and so it's an important part of everybody's business now. The internet used to be something that was kind of out there on the fringes, and but now it's actually in the middle of our business, and it's central to everything that we do. If someone wants to find a landscaper, they're not going to the Yellow Pages anymore. They're going straight to Google. So, do you have a website? And then can your website be easily found? And when people arrive on the website, have they got all the information that they need in order to understand what makes you special and what makes you unique and why they should buy from you, and having all the proof elements that's going to influence their decision to ultimately work with you as opposed to anybody else, and also be collecting details of people as well, so you can actually building a database, because most people that visit your website will never come back. But if you're collecting names and email addresses, then you can build that relationship over a period of time, because most people will never buy on first exposure. They need to kind of hear from you at least 5 to 7 times before they're in a position to buy from you, until that trust and rapport is established. And so, you need to have a website. You need to make sure that your website can easily be found, and then you need to make sure that you've got a good database, and that you're making sure that you're optimizing your pages for the search engines. And you want to make sure that your website's built on an open source system. You integrate social media. That you, if you have a local business, that you most certainly are using Google Places. So I'm just rattling off a few things there from the actual.
We'll dig into a few of them. We'll get sort of a little bit specific so people can have some takeaways as well. But keep going.
Yeah. Okay. Would it be okay, because I've just got someone coming to our office to pick up some furniture. So would it be okay if we just we pause for a little while? And
you can just step away and do what you got to do. I'll still leave it recording. That's fine. I can edit this point.
You can edit? Okay. I just got to return these 2 calls that have come in, because I've just got to meet some people to pick up some furniture, and then we'll just continue in maybe 5 minutes. Is that okay?
Yeah, no, fine, man, fine.
Okay, thanks.
All right, man, you're back. So some of the stuff you kind of quickly brushed over. Now, as an internet dude, I go, yep. I can check it off and go, that's all right. That's all good stuff. But I want to get a little bit specific on some of the stuff. We'll talk about kind of how I actually use the internet, a few of the tools that I use, and maybe we could dig in about those specific things. So you touched on there, right? You got to get people to your website through Google. Now, can we talk just really quickly about what it actually takes to optimize your page? Because now with the way that Google has changed things, like if you over-optimize, you get penalized. I don't know if you're aware of the penguin thing, how things have changed. So if you've gone too far, some of the old websites have to almost go back and change a few things. So what are some things that people can do on their individual page? Because I understand now that each page is a landing page. It doesn't matter what it is. People rarely come through the front page of your website, the .com, and then start browsing around. They kind of hit a page that was relevant. So how do you make that one page come up for someone, when they type in dog training, dog collars in Scandinavia? How do you make that come up first, that type of thing? What do they need to do?
Yeah. Well, and these are all things that you directly control, which is called on-page SEO or search engine optimization. So they're things like, optimizing a page is still valid. You're right. You don't want to go crazy and go over the top, because that might be, be seen as manipulating their kind of system. But you still want to make sure that the main keyword of what you're targeting, like could be dog training Sydney or dog training courses, and all the beaches or whatever it is in the title tag. The title tag is the most important thing. It's the thing that goes right at the very top of the website, even above where you type in the URL. There's a little section above that, and that's called the title tag. Now, all other sins can be forgiven, as long as the title tag has the main sort of keyword that you're targeting. Because if it doesn't, then really Google sort of blind as to what the page is all about. So that's the most important thing, the title tag. Then the second thing would be the headline on the actual page, and then something called the body copy, which is all the text basically. You want to make sure that you mention the keyword a couple of times, but don't do it in a way that's unnatural, because that's called keyword loading, where you try to put the major keyword in too many times. Then there's something called the description, which is also important. That's something that a visitor doesn't actually see on the website, but they will see it within Google. If they Google dog training Sydney, the title tag will come up on the first line. Then there's the description, which is the 2 lines, and then there's the link where they actually click. And if you don't put a description in, it just pulls the copy from the opening 2 sentences of the actual page. And if that's kind of not really that attractive or appealing, because you're kind of building up what you do, and you get to the details later on, then that's not going to really be effective from people from a conversion point of view. So ideally what they're searching for should be in the description, and so they go, okay, this is what I'm actually looking for. Then you've obviously got the URL. So you want to, if you've got, say, for example, pawsandpuppies.com.au or something along those lines, then / and then you want to have in the actual URL the actual the main sort of keyword, or what that content is about. Because if you just create a page and you don't optimize it, then oftentimes it could just be called page !-12345, which is the name of the page, and that doesn't really mean anything to Google. So title tag, URL, the description, the headline, and then the body copy, and even labeling images or videos that you embed with those keywords as well. So they're the kind of essentials, and you want to make sure that that you cover off those things, but don't go too far with putting your keyword in too many times, or sometimes people are using too many variations, or they're using a lot of common misspellings as well, which Google kind of starts to see, okay, this person is over optimizing and it's getting a little bit too clever. Then the other things that you want to do is make sure that you not just putting it on your website, but then you're actually sending it out to the world by putting it onto, say, Twitter, or putting it out through Facebook. Even though it's a closed community, it always helps to get more people to the page. You might use some techniques called social bookmarking, where you might bookmark it through a service called like Dig or Delicious, or now Pinterest, or something along those lines, where you're bookmarking your page, because the more kind of times that page is kind of linked to on the internet, the more authority that page has. And then if you can even get other websites to talk about you and to then have a link to your website, that also helps. This is going into the other side of search engine optimization, which is known as off-page search engine optimization, which is the things that you control but indirectly. Not like you can't necessarily change what other people write about you, but the fact that you can ask them, would you mind putting this on your website, or would you mind sending this out to your Twitter followers? I think this will be really great content. So you really got to make sure that you're creating stuff that is shareable, that people feel proud to send out and go, hey, this is really good information, this can really help people. Not many people want to send out what they consider to be a free ad if all it is self-serving and it's not about giving any value to the actual customer.
Okay, so you're talking about the people side of SEO too, because if it's great content, people will stick around on the page even longer.
Yeah, and
That's
that's the
another
other thing
factor.
as well is that at the end of the day, it all comes down to having great content. That's really what Google's trying to kind of say. At the end of the day, is if you write great content and it's awesome information, then people will naturally link to you and they'll naturally share it, and it will happen organically. What they want to avoid is people, getting these articles written, populating the internet with just rubbish content, stuff that they've just had done for $2 an hour from someone in India. They've thrown a whole lot of keywords there. There's really no value in the article. It doesn't actually share anything that's actually useful. And so, that Google's trying to say, if you don't have anything nice to say, or don't have anything interesting or new to say, then basically, don't say it at all, and and only write stuff that actually matters and actually is unique and original and actually valuable. So what they want to do is discourage, what they would call internet garbage, and they want to get more quality content, and are forcing people to basically, write genuine content as opposed to just junk stuff that isn't actually really even done by themselves personally.
It's okay. So you got your on-page factors done right. You've got some links. Yeah, you got some Twitter and a few other things. Those social bookmarking sites, they're linking in now, because this is a statistic that I've heard. I don't think it's like been measured or anything, but it gives you a guideline. Like 15% of the deal is the on-page factors, having your page set up correctly. Tell me if I'm right here. So it's about 15% of the deal is actually just having your page set up right. So Google knows what it's about, and that's all the keyword is. So when someone types it in, there's one that's relevant to the term. This is a possible candidate, and all those links count as votes to say, wow, all these other places are linking here, so this one seems to be the one that people like the most, and that sort of pushes it up there. Now you're a systems guy, and I would think you probably got some systems there to. You're not going to see. I can't see you sitting there going, okay, put the post on Dig, now put the post on Delicious, now put the post on Pinterest. Have you got systems that you use, maybe some tools that kind of push it out to maybe 20 sites at once or 30 sites at once, like social bookmarking tools? What's your view on using those?
Yeah, they were like I do for social media. Use a tool called Hootsuite, and there's another one out there called Social Sprout, where you can link all your social media platforms into one dashboard. So you can have your Facebook, your Twitter, your LinkedIn, soon to be Google Plus as well, and then soon to be Pinterest as well. So when you send out one sort of a message, it can syndicate to all those places, which basically saves you a lot of time and money. And you can also pre-program your messages up to 3 months in advance. And so if you're going away for a month like I am soon, then there's always fresh content going out to your fans and followers. So that's a valuable time saver. On the social bookmarking side, there used to be tools like one called Social Marker, another one called OnlyWire, which were social bookmarking platforms where you just chuck all of your usernames and passwords in, click one button, it syndicates them all. But what's sort of happened now with some of the changes that Google's made, anytime it latches onto something that seems unnatural, that is like, okay, well, this person is where did all these links come from? How come all these links were generated in a 15-minute interval? Then it doesn't seem natural, and so they will start to punish people that are using things that that aren't haven't been done by a human and are coming across as unnatural. So you've got to be careful with these things now. Before, it was just a matter of getting your content out as far and as wide as you can, and using every tool available for maximum exposure. But the jury's still out to say whether or not that is a good method anymore, or whether or not you're actually going to be getting punished for doing those type of things. And so I just say proceed with caution. And if it's unnatural, if it's too good to be true, then it might be, and so you've got to be very cautious and careful.
Okay, so what would you suggest then, instead of maybe jumping, especially for people who aren't familiar with that stuff, they could really get themselves into trouble, get their sites banned. What do you suggest? What's a good starting point to delve into that social bookmarking type of thing?
Well, the best way is always just to write, great, amazing, fantastic content and have something that's really interesting to say. There's a guy called Tim Ferriss that wrote this book called The 4 Hour Week, and he's been very prolific in how, his name is now, all around the world, and he now gets thousands and thousands of visitors, every 10 minutes to his website. He's very, very popular online, and he won this award.
Keep talking, I'm listening.
Yeah. He won this award recently, and the award was he was the Marketer of the Year. Some agency gave him the title of Marketer of the Year. And he was laughing and saying that, I'm such this great marketer, but actually I spend 90% of my time creating awesome, amazing, fantastic content, and only 10% of my time actually marketing it. So I'm not actually a marketer at all. I just create great stuff, and people naturally want to talk about it, and they want to share it, and they want to consume that information. So there's a lot of merit in actually making sure that you're putting out only quality material, and not just internet space junk.
Yeah. That's an important thing, and just show people there that's the book he was talking about there, The 4 Hour Workweek, Tim Ferriss. It's a little bit of an older one now. He's got another one, The 4 Hour Body. Is it 4 Hour Body? Yeah, 4 Hour Body. I might put a link to that too. You can go and check that out if you haven't heard of that one. So great content seems to be the big thing these days. Like it's gone through a lot of spammy stages, and now the internet is or Google anyway, is kind of closer to what its intention is, because I guess Google wants to give people the best experience possible, like any business. So they want us as viewers to get the best result, the most appropriate result when we type in our things. So now we've got social bookmarks. Can we talk a little bit about video and how you use video? And you can do the same things that you've just talked about with your video. If you get your keywords in the right spot, you get the same kind of platform when you're typing in your content for your video. You get your title, description, some tags. So it works the same way. Could you talk about how you use video in your marketing?
Sure. I think video is a very powerful medium. We've all known that video helps to be able to sell products and services. Infomercials have been around for decades, and every year trillions of dollars of sales are generated through infomercials. So infomercials work, but having being able in the past to put a video on a website was actually slow because people's connections were very poor, and it wasn't viable. But in the last few years, as internet speeds have increased and computer processing power has increased as well, it's now possible to take a video and to put it onto your website and to be able to promote you or to sell your products and services. And it's a powerful medium because it builds trust, it builds rapport, and that's the foundation ultimately of sales, is trust, rapport, and the connection. And it does that better than what you can do just through having words, because people get a feeling of, I like this guy or I like this girl, and now I want to consume all their other information and see what products and services they have, because something kind of unspoken gets translated when someone's talking through video that doesn't happen just through text. So it's a very powerful medium. Search engines now are giving a lot more authority to video content because people's kind of desires for information is changing. If you want to change a light bulb, you're not going to go read an article about how to change a light bulb. You're probably going to check out a video. The other day I was making a frittata, and again, I didn't want to read an article. I wanted to watch it on video. So most people don't realize this, but the world's number one search engine, of course, is Google, but the number 2 search engine in the world is YouTube. So not Yahoo or Bing. A lot of people now bypassing those other methods and just going straight to YouTube because they don't want to actually read about it. They actually want to see it done and happen. So someone's renovating their house, and I've got a number of videos up there. If you go to YouTube and type in how to write a book, mine's the first video that comes up. And last time I checked, it's probably more than this now, but it had 91,000 people have watched that video over the past couple of years, because there's a lot of people out there that want to write a book, and mine's the first video that comes up. So I strongly suggest that if you want to build your platform, if you have a business, if you want to promote any form of products or services, or you just want to get great content out to the world, then the best way to do that is through video. And the funny I saw some recent statistics. What most people do is they send out links through Facebook, or they send out links through Twitter. The thing that gets the most amount of engagement, number one, is photos. People love photos, and that gets the most amount of engagement. Number two is video, and then way down the list, number three is links. And so a lot of people are just pumping out these links, but what people are loving most is photos and video. So if you can be creating more photo and video content, you're going to be engaging people much more and get a much better response.
And I guess that's what Pinterest is really good for. It's just like a really fast way to get photos up there with a bit of text to say, this is what this photo is about. Share, click, whatever. It's like, yeah. So how are you using Pinterest at the moment? Or
no, I'm not actually. I'm just speaking to a friend of mine. We're going to be running a webinar together, and she's going to be teaching me about how it actually works, and to all of my clients as well. So I'm all like, I'm into, of course, social media and use all the different platforms that are out there. But I'm also not just I understand that as a business owner, you've got to be careful where you spend your time.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times people just jump onto these social media bandwagons as the next big thing, and they're going to save their business. And so, at the end of the day, having a good social media presence isn't going to save a bad business. And so, you've got to make sure that you have a really great product or service, and you've got to make sure that all your other forms of marketing are working, and you've got a good website. And so it's a package deal. And so don't fall foul to all of these shiny balls that are out there, because sometimes people spend hundreds of hours on these things, and they're not. There's no return on investment. So I'm not saying that there's a balance to everything. I'm not saying just ignore them, because they are powerful, and this is more of a medium to long term play. But a lot of people I see are they're broke in their business, and they're spending 20 hours a day on all these social media sites, and it's like, well, if your business if something's not working, stop doing it and find another path, because there's a lot of, there's sometimes social media can be great. I'm a big believer in it, but in some cases for some businesses, it's a little bit overrated, and that's not where your customers are. So you've got to fish elsewhere.
Yeah. Because I've heard some Brad Sugars, I think he seems to be on Facebook all the time, but I think he really only spends like 10 minutes a day. So that was an interesting thing that he's got his little iPhone with him, send out a message, but it just seems like he's always there. But I mean, he could be between breaks doing a seminar, or who knows.
For sure.
So we've kind of covered social bookmarkings, on-page factors, WordPress. You talked about an open source platform. I don't want to go too much into it, but I know from the seminar you said WordPress is kind of your favored one. You use a tool on there to split test, which is something I thought was really cool. I've forgotten, I didn't write it down, so I'm spewing that I didn't write it down, so I'm glad I got a chance to speak to you now. What tool is that you use to do the split test? Is it a bit of software or something?
Yeah, there's a couple of different tools. The first thing that every person that has a website needs is Google Analytics. It's a free bit of a code that you can get from Google Analytics, and you put it onto your website, and then you know exactly what's happening on your site, how many people are visiting, how long they're staying on the site, where they're coming from around the world, what browsers that they're using, et cetera, et cetera. Everything you could possibly want to know about how your website is performing is there. Because there's a saying, you can't improve what you don't measure. So you need to start measuring what works and what's not working. The next thing, within Google Analytics, you can set up something called Google Goals. So you can see how many people land on your homepage, and then how many people would give you a name and email address or opt in to receive something for free. That's very important. You can measure what's your conversion rate. A lot of people think, my website's converting at 20%, but they actually look at it, and it's converting at less than 5%, maybe 2 or 3%. So important that you know what your real numbers are. Then if you want to start testing, and don't do this until you've got the basics of Google Analytics and Google Goals set up, because that's like the foundation, then you can build on top of that with something called Google Website Optimizer, which is a tool to be able to split test two different web pages to see which one's converting the best, and then beyond that there's another one which is called Zen Tester. So just depends on what you want to do and what you want to achieve, but start with the basics and then work your way up.
Okay, and when you're doing, just want to talk a little bit about that split testing. What are you changing on the page? How do you approach, this one page has one thing, is the next page completely different? How are you doing that?
Normally, we'd test the most important thing on any website is the headline. That is going to draw people in, and so your website needs to have like a headline. Every newspaper you look at, you can make a newspaper if there were no headlines, they're just articles. No one would read them because they wouldn't know whether or not this article is for them or not, or this is going to be even interesting or helpful. So every newspapers understood this 100 years ago, and websites need to understand this as well. You've got to have a headline. So that's the most important thing to test. So we test different headlines for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks till we get a really good headline. And then after that, we test the opening paragraphs, the body copy. Then we might test the bullet points that we use, and maybe bullet points versus a video. And then we might test the offer. We might test the header graphic. We might test the photo that you use of yourself, a more professional one versus a casual one. Having testimonials, we might test a few different types of testimonials to see what works. And so it is a bit of a process of maybe 3 to 6 months of testing. But, we've had websites, even my own websites, have gone from like 4, 5, 6% conversion to one of my websites now is converting at over 25% conversion just by doing this testing over a 3 to 6 month period. So it is work, but it's certainly worth it when your website is converting at 4 times what it used to convert. That means 4 times as many leads and potential customers.
Yeah, well, that's amazing results. 25%. That's like 1 in every 4 people opt in.
Correct.
Like fill in your form, you get their details, and like I've heard a stat. Every good email is worth how much every month of products and sales and just relationships that you can
absolutely
keep creating from that.
Yep.
So we kind of covered, okay, that's kind of your WordPress, your social bookmarks, your video. What else is out there? How do you actually go about creating copy? Have you done copywriting courses yourself, or you just kind of write how you speak? Do you hand it over to someone else? How do you handle the actual creation of text, content creation?
Yeah, sales copy, which is basically, words on a page that are designed to influence someone to a certain action, whether that be opt-in or to buy a product or to fill out a quote form or whatever it be. Words are very, very important on a page, and they do make a massive difference. And so I realized this about 5 years ago, and I did do a few little courses to learn about copywriting. I'm certainly no copywriting genius because unless you're doing it every single day, you're never really going to get good at something. And so for smaller things, I do myself, like if I'm sending an email to my database or I'm promoting selling some of my books or whatever, I'll just do it myself.
Yep.
But anything that is really important, like to a whole page to launch or promote an event, then I'll actually hire a professional copywriter, because all they do is they write text, and so they're brilliant with regards to words, and they understand what words work and what words don't. So at the beginning, if you're just starting out, you got to kind of learn the art and do it yourself. But the moment you can start working with professionals, that will be a big help, and it will take you to a whole new level.
Okay, and do you hand them a brief? You say, look, here's what I've got. Create something out of that and get people to come visit me at my seminar.
Absolutely. Information as I possibly can in order to help to make their life easier. So, I would go through and I talk to my customers, I give them research, I give them data. I'd even write, a bit of a skeleton myself perhaps, and I want to include this and I want to include that. And then I give them everything that I've got and then say, it's up to you, do your magic, you're the professional, don't do what I tell you, do what you think is best. And so they'll use some of my stuff, they will ditch some of my stuff, I don't really care. At the end of the day, I want the best result.
Okay, and do you run your split test? Probably your copy wouldn't last that long, 6 months, whatever, but do you do any kind of split testing on that once it's up?
Absolutely. Yeah, once it's up, then the fun begins. It doesn't mean, and oftentimes the first incarnation is actually, if you work with a professional, it's going to be good, but it's not going to be great. And that's really whereby testing it for those first 3 or 6 months is critical to make sure that that you are really hitting the mark and you plug those holes, because there will be gaps. With this software, you can see that people are getting down, say, to page number 3, but then everybody's leaving at page number 3. So why is it they get to this point and they become disinterested? Well, that's a gap we need to fix, and so we've got to put something really sexy and really juicy in that spot to then re-engage them again to keep them reading, because we obviously lost them at that point. So you can see all this stuff when you start doing the split testing. You can see what's converting better. And if you start using the other more advanced one called Zen Tester, you can see things like heat maps, and you can actually watch a video of every visitor on your website. and it's very powerful.
Yeah. Now, do you spend a lot of time yourself in that, or do you hire someone to take care of that?
Yeah, look, I do the kind of bare minimum that I need to get by.
Yeah.
Having a business now the
Yeah.
size that I have, you can't be across everything. So I will, randomly check things every week or maybe every 2 weeks. But once it's at a certain level, now that's at 25%, I could spend, it's like something called the law of diminishing returns.
Yeah.
I could spend an next year it from 25 to maybe 30%, or I could just go out and spend that whole year on marketing and just going, look, it is what it is. I could get a little bit better, but I've now received the majority of gains. Now I'm not going to, there's a saying, progress is more important than perfection. So I'm not going to go for perfection. I'm now going to go for progress and just get more people to the page.
Okay, now that's awesome. Excellent. So I want to be respectful of your time now, so we'll kind of get to wrapping it up. I've got a couple of kind of mundane little questions, and then just I want to get your last, what you want to leave people with based on everything you've told us, because everything you've told us is really part of your system, part of the business blueprint. You teach all of this and so much more. And I just want to give you one bit of kudos is, as I've been to various seminars and workshops and all these kinds of things, like I said, I'm not a junkie, but I've been to a bunch and can kind of pick what's good, what's not. And I even said it to you on the day. I don't even remember if you remember, but one thing I was really, really, I wouldn't say impressed, but one thing that I thought was really cool was your pitch was so unpitchy. I almost didn't realize I was being sold, and I thought that's really cool. Your way that you basically say, look, here's all this stuff. You can go up the back and apply for it. Off you go. And then, a whole bunch of people stood up. And I thought, man, just the way you handle that was just really cool, man. I thought, I've been to somewhere, you can feel them. Okay, they're ramping me up, getting me excited, ready to go. Oh, everyone run up the back. And there was none of that. And I thought, man, and your sis, and more people got up at your thing than I've seen at any other thing. And so, man, I just wanted to say, I don't know, have you developed that? Did you used to do some of the techniques and that sort of thing? And you've just evolved into this point where you just go, look, there it is. Go get it.
Yeah, I've done, hundreds of seminars over the last 11 years, and I've been sold to in all sorts of different ways. And, at the end of the day, I want to be, it's not about who makes the most amount of money this year. In my opinion, it's about who's around the longest and who actually builds the long-term respect and value in the marketplace. And I've seen what goes up, comes down very fast. And I've seen people make like $1 million selling stuff in 1 year, but their back end, their delivery, they take any person that's got stars in their eyes, wanting to make some money. They'll force people to mortgage their house, in order to pay for their programs and stuff like that. And they just end up creating so much carnage off the back end of that their name becomes mud, and they're no longer around. And so I'm just like, why go to all that effort? I'd rather just work with the right clients and the clients that are actually. So I say to people, if you're struggling to pay your mortgage, do not join my program. It's not right for you. You're not ready. I don't want you financially stressed because I don't want the headaches. I'm building this business because I want to have a better, quality of life for me and my family. And if I'm dealing with just, dramas and, sob stories and all this stuff on the phone every day, I don't want to be spending my time doing that. So I'm happy to lose a few sales, just because I can have my sanity and know that, there's nobody that's wondering how they're going to put food on the table tonight as a result of investing in my program. So I don't take everybody. We only work with people that are in a certain level of stability and security, and we have a really genuine offer and approach. And it's really a case of saying, you know what, guys, here it is. And if it's right for you, great. We'd love to work with you. And if it's not, that's great as well. Enjoy the free information, and maybe we'll work together down the track. So that's my approach, and it's working. And am I selling as much as maybe some other people that have the whole hypey? They'll run to the back of the room. It's for the first 10 people only, and now I'm going to give you an iPad if you join today, or whatever gimmicks that they use. It's probably not as effective, but I don't really care. I don't. Need thousands and thousands of people in order to run a really successful business. And so I'm about building more long-term relationships and working with the right type of people, because the people that I find are sold on just hype and emotion they're the people you have all the headaches and all the problems with, and they're the people that complain about everything, and they're the people that don't do the work.
Yeah.
You know, the clients that do join my program, like I know other people, they might get 20 signups, but they lose 10 in the next 3 or 4 days because the buyer's remorse kicks in and they realize they've overextended themselves, and they're now thinking, how am I going to afford to pay for this? I don't have anybody that joins my program pull out because they're not sold on hype and emotion. They're sold they're sold with their intellect. They actually go, I need this program, and here's why I need it.
And I can easily afford it, so it's no problem.
And I can afford it, and so it's no problem. And I know what my return is going to be, because yes, it's going to cost me 10 grand or whatever it is, but I know that I can make between 50 and 100 as a result of applying this information. So there's no stress. There's no like there's no concern. So anyway, that's my approach, my style, maybe it doesn't work as well, but at the end of the day, I sleep very well at night, and I know that the people that do join love what we do, and and get massive results.
Yeah, man. No, I just wanted to say, like, I got a lot of respect for that. I reckon, this is my personal opinion out of what I've seen out there, man, I reckon you're the best in the business.
Thanks, mate. I appreciate it.
And now just to get onto something really mundane, and just this is for my own personal satisfaction. At the seminar, you would type in your password.
Yep.
And I couldn't read it, of course. Yeah, but you had a little tool that you used to do that. Because whenever you typed in the password for when you jumped into your WordPress, when you jumped into some other thing, what's that tool?
Yeah.
I want to get that.
Okay, well, there's two different ones. If you've just got a Mac, then you can use one called number one, and then password.com is the one for just Mac. If you have a PC, or you've got a Mac and a PC, and you want kind of one program that does the same job across any computer that you have, then that would be called LAST, L-A-S-T, Pass, P-A-S.com. That's another one as well. Both of them are free or next to free, and they do a great job in remembering all your username and password. So you have like a master password that if you go to a site, if you've been, go to that regularly, it'll just ask you to type in your master password, then you're in, and then it will kind of give you access to anything that you, for up to about, if you step away from your computer for longer than 15 minutes, then it will kind of go, hey, well, maybe it's not that, it's not you. You can change these settings, but I have it basically 15 minutes. If I'm away from my computer for longer than 15 minutes, then the next site that I go to, it'll go, hey, wait a sec, we want to make sure that you're a day old, so can you type in your master password? And I just type that in again, and then I'm back having access to everything. It saves me a lot of time, because if I'm going to my WordPress site, then I'm logging into my blog, and I'm going and logging into here and logging into Google Analytics, then I just can get straight in without have to waste time going, what was that password again? What was that username? And trying 5 different combinations and wasting half an hour a day just logging into accounts.
Yeah, because that's exactly why I want to do it, because that's what I'm doing is copy paste, and mucking around with passwords. So that's really cool. All right, man. So thanks for your time. Now, could you just leave us with one key little nugget that, say, people that are out there, right, like me, I do everything myself. I'm a one-man show. Running this on a $0 budget, not making any money with it yet. And I really want to sort of turn this into something at some point down the track. I'm patient. I'm prepared to put the time in a year or two from now before it even turns into something. What's something? What I can't do all those things that you just said, and I can't afford your training. And even if I did, I don't have the time to implement it yet. So, what's someone like me in my position? What sort of advice could you give to me as to, like choosing the right things to do, ignoring all the things that waste your time? Yeah, what could you pass on to me and anyone that's listening right now?
Yeah, wow. I think the more that you learn, the easier life gets. And I'm not talking about what you learn at school or university. I'm talking about all the stuff that the path that you've been on, which is this idea of self-education and learning from people that have the results that you want. And so I've been I wouldn't probably label myself as a seminar junkie, but it's somewhat. I've constantly invested in my education, in reading, in attending seminars, in listening to audio CDs, and when I drive and at home, I watch obviously movies here and there, but I also watch a lot of DVDs or now YouTube videos. So constantly learning, constantly educating myself on a whole lot of different things, on how to build a successful business, and then how to invest in property, and how to anything that I want to do, anything that I want to achieve, I just learn from other people's experiences. And and this is exactly what anyone that's watching got to the end of this video. This is exactly what you're doing right now, which is great. And you need to keep doing more of it, because the more the more you can learn from other people's experiences, the easier your journey through life is going to be, and the more success that you're going to be able to achieve with the better decisions you're going to make. So that's really my kind of summary of what I really want to share, and that's how I've got to this position in my life, and how I'm going to get to the next level. Is constantly by finding great people and learning as much as I can from them, and being grateful that they're willing to share, and writing them a thank you note, and you're very gracious and coming up and saying thank you to me as well. And so make sure that you don't that you value people's time and thank them, because if they feel appreciated, then they'll keep sharing and they'll keep giving more, and that ultimately will benefit you as well. So that's it. That's all I wanted to say, and now I'll throw it back to you.
Yeah. Okay. And just one last thing is too that you mentioned at the seminar as well is like to purchase tools to actually put the money in that will save you time. If it's going to cost you $500 now, it might save you 2 years. So that's way more value, in time and money and that sort of thing too.
Absolutely. Investing in education is so important. And there's paid tools out there. And there's free tools out there. I've got a great seminar for anyone that is in business or starting a business, and it's called New Rules of Business. .com.au. That's newrulesofbusiness.com.au.
I'll put that link.
Totally free, one-day seminar. I would encourage anyone to come along to it, whether you buy or don't buy. As it's really irrelevant. I'm just about getting this message out to the most amount of people that I can. And naturally, some people do want to work with me over a period of time, and that's completely fine. If not, then just come along and get the free info. And then I've got another website as well that's got a lot of resources on it, a lot of videos, a lot of my books, and it's also past issues of a magazine that we've created. So that's website is called businessblueprint.com.au. That's businessblueprint.com.au. So that's where you can go if you want more information about what I do, and to stay in touch.
Yeah, man. Okay, so guys, I'm going to put those links there. Every link he just said there's going to be a link under this in the show notes. So you can easily, if you've got this far in a video, congratulations. And you can just click on the link and go check out Dale. I'll even chuck his Facebook link down there as well. And actually, I might even put a link there. I'm going to have these two books, 4-Hour Work Week and E-Myth, and I'll even put a link down to one or two of Dale's books, The Secrets Exposed of Everything. He's done 1 million books. Hey, listen, Dale, man, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. I'm so glad and really appreciate that you've spent the time with us today. You've given tons more value than even I could have imagined. So thanks heaps, and keep doing the work that you do, because it's just brilliant, man. I absolutely loved it. Guys, Dale's number one in this seminar business. In my opinion, he's number one.
Thanks, mate.
All right, mate. Take it easy. I'll see you next time.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.